My day started as normal, as most of my days usually start. I wake up, go to the bathroom, go eat some breakfast, and take a shower. And then I go on my phone. I try to stay off my phone in the morning to avoid, doom scrolling all morning. Some research has shown that your mood in your morning actually influences your mood for the rest of the day. So I'm scared that I'll go on my phone and my mood will be ruined. Which is why I rarely do it, but today was the day that I decided, you know what? I'm gonna go check on my Discord server, see how everyone's doing. Just this once. And I open it up, and I'm like, wow, look at the Wordle yesterday. Joel Smith, yet again, still hasn't beat the Wordle. It's been like 2 weeks in a row. Polls with a clutch. It was just amazing Wordle yesterday. We're looking at the current Wordle. Chris, he's on the 7-day streak. Kyle isn't looking so hot. Joe's trash. It's so bad. I'm like, oh, my day can't get any worse, huh? I mean, I got it in 4. I'm doing pretty good. And I'm just scrolling. And then I see this. From Jake. Quote, at Spoof. Not gonna lie, I fuck with being on the West Coast. This shit fi. And at first I was like, okay, he's on vacation. The West Coast is kind of pretty cool. There's some cool stuff there. They got cool sights, they got mountains, they got oceans. This was a valid take. But part of me was like, well, why do you like it? What is so fire about the West Coast? So I scrolled down a bit more. Spoof says, bro, I know, right? I love it here. And then Jake says, bro, the sunset was overly pretty. Okay. And let's enhance on this image. It's a pretty sunset. I'll give it to Jake. It's a pretty sunset. This isn't bad at all. For your reasoning of liking the West Coast, this may not be your number one reason, but you had a good night, It was a good night. Good view. And then my world turned upside down. The very next message. The very next one. Everything that I've believed in my entire life was flipped on its head. And this is exactly why I don't go on my phone in the morning. And now I'll make sure never to do it again. Because then I read the exact next message. Not the second, not the third, not the fifth, not the 10th. The next message. From Spoof. Quote, forgot you guys don't get sunsets. We're going to pause here. Because after this, I started doing my research. Since Spoof said he doesn't get sunsets, that must mean Jake must live somewhere on Earth where the sun does not set. So, I immediately got to work. With my high-tech Gonkley research technology, I looked up. Where does the sun not set? A place where the sun never sets experiences the midnight sun, a natural phenomenon where the sun remains visible continuously for 24 hours during the summer. This happens above the Arctic Circle and below the Antarctic Circle due to axial tilt. Alright. Also looked up the country. Norway. I found it. I called off all the scientists that day. I was like, you know what, guys? You don't need to come in. The sun actually doesn't set somewhere on Earth, and it's Norway. So, Jake must live in Norway, right? Normally, that's where he lives. He's on vacation on the west coast of America. He never got to see a sunset. It's a little sad. It's a little sad. So he must live in Norway, right? Well, as every good researcher does, I went to go confirm my information that Jake lives in Norway. After this message, it's safe to say that I was completely astonished. As soon as I got this message, I head back to the Gonkley Research Technology Center, and I look up. Does the sun set every day in Georgia? Hoping that this could be a misunderstanding, and maybe, just maybe, Google was wrong. But it wasn't. Not only does it set every day in the state of Georgia, but it also sets every single day in the country of Georgia. I was speechless. I had to contact my head research, Gonkley CEO, Baker's Dozen, and tell him about this. Because now I need everyone. I just called everyone off, and now I need them all back. Because I don't know how this could be possible. And I was like, wait a second. It can't get worse, right? What does? How do you find a serial killer, right? You go back to the scene of the crime. They always go backwards. Like, maybe I missed something. Maybe I missed something. There's got to be more information in that Discord server, right? So that's exactly where I went. I look at the next message. Jake says, nah, we do. But that shit overly good here. Okay. So Spoof doesn't know that sunsets are a pretty much global thing. But Jake does. Thank God. I thought this was bad. But then I sit up in my chair, and I reread the message. Now we do, okay? But that shit overly good here. So now I'm fighting two battles here. One person believes that sunsets don't exist on Earth, in places, especially in Georgia. And the other one, what do you mean they're overly good here? Are there places on Earth where the sunsets are better? Now I may understand. There are multiple views you can get to get a better sunset on the top of a mountain. I'm sure the top of Mount Everest, the sunset there is probably better than, I don't know, your front yard in Illinois. But what do you mean overly good here? In the entire west coast of America, the sunsets are just better? I didn't know what to think. And then Spoof says, bro, there's days where I'd be in some bum-ass parking lot, but the sunset looking overly good for no reason. I don't understand. I don't understand. What am I not understanding? I could go in a parking lot and see a good sunset too, and I'm Central America. And so could somebody in Florida, who's Eastern. So I don't get it. What makes the Western Coast so much better? And then Dan poses a great question. Who doesn't get sunsets? The fuck? And he's right. And he's right. Jake says Vancouver is a city so underrated. Sure, I've never been to Vancouver, so I don't know. And Dan realizes the absurdity, just as I've been explaining it to all of you, of what the fuck's going on here. Wait, deadass, what does that mean? Everyone is losing their minds here. First off, we got no sunsets in Georgia anymore. They're gone. And secondly, the West Coast is somehow better than every place on Earth for sunsets. I don't know how they came to these conclusions. I don't understand it. And then this was the cherry on top. This was the cherry on top. Donkling assistant, please play the GIF. Thank you. Bro, East sunsets are buns. I'm not understanding something. There's something I'm not getting. The sun sets the same way it does everywhere on Earth. Everywhere on Earth. Besides Norway. What do you mean the East sunsets are buns? It sets the same way in the West. And in Central. And in Europe. And in Russia. And in China. Anywhere you go on Earth besides Norway. There are no Norwegians in this server, by the way. None. But I guess the East sunsets are buns. Dan immediately finds this out. W rage bait, you know, it's a valid response. I kind of saw it as that, but I needed to go deeper. I needed to deep dive into this and figure out the science behind this. But I can't blame him for backing out this early. Because what does that mean? What does that mean? I don't get it. So I kept going. Now this message blew my mind. Every time I think that it could get worse. That couldn't get worse. It did. Immediately. Jake says, it's like a mix of ocean and mountains. We just don't get that on the East. You just don't get that on the East, huh? You don't. You don't. Never, nowhere on the East you get the ocean and the mountains. Not a single place. Not a single place. Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I was like, when I read this, I was like, wait a second. I literally just went on vacation a week ago to a place that is East America with oceans and, believe it or not, mountains. Now I'm scared. I'm almost scared. If I missed out on the world, just it seems that all these new scientific discoveries are being made in this Discord server right now, and it's like, oh my god, did I miss something? So I go to my account. First image I see is an ocean. Okay. There better not be any mountains anywhere, right? Because I'm on the East Coast. It's not there. Jake just said it's not there. So I scroll a little bit more. Oh my god. Oh my god! There's mountains here too! There's mountains here too. And you can't see it in the picture, but there's an ocean there as well. And I'm on the East Coast! How is this possible? I don't get it. I don't know what's going on anymore. It's gone. And I realized as I was getting to this photo, I also passed this one. A sunset! A sunset! With an ocean! And cliffs in the background. And I'm on the East Coast. I don't get it. And a scientist like me, a scientist like any noble scientist, can never be like, alright, research over, they're wrong! I'm still thinking to myself, maybe Jake and Spoof are right. Maybe the sun doesn't set anywhere on Earth other than the West Coast, and maybe mountains and oceans don't exist anywhere else than the West Coast. Even though I was literally there a week ago, a place where that does actually exist on the East Coast. Maybe I was wrong. So I kept going. I kept going. So then I continued to scroll. Spoof says, where I live, you can see the snow on the mountains and turn around to the sea. Jake says, see? That's Genly 5. Spoof then says, we got everything over here. You could probably go skiing and to the beach in one day. And I was like, okay. Wow, West Coast has it all, man. Let me contact my friend, who I just visited again. On the East Coast. You know, the East Coast that doesn't have sunsets or mountains or oceans of mixture. And apparently you can't do this in the East either. So I had to ask him. First off, how far are you away from the nearest skiing place? And secondly, how far are you from the beach? Preferably in minutes, which is what I wanted. So I can figure this out. Because Spoof says in one day, which is 24 hours. So as long as my friend Joe here would give me an answer that would be quantable below 24 hours, it would actually be possible to do this somewhere else on Earth. And so I waited. And then he got back to me. And this is what he said. I'll read it. It is approximately 30 minutes to the nearest ski place from my house. Meaning you could go to the beach in the same day. Since according to Google, the beach is only 18 minutes from my house. He also adds, What would be even crazier is if you go to the White Mountains, which is approximately 2 hours away. For those of you who don't know, those are the 4,000 footer mountains, and ski there, which is where he likes to ski. The beach would be more of a tight squeeze to fill in the day, but a much more rewarding trip, round trip. You'd be looking at either about 5 or 2 hours in the car, but extremely doable. And then I go back to Spook's message. In one day, that's 24 hours, and at most, to do it in Maine, in Elliott, in the East Coast, you could do it in 5. That leaves you 19 more hours of the rest of your day to do whatever you want. But once again, I didn't conclude my research there because maybe they just know something that I don't. What am I missing here? And Jake doesn't do his research clearly. That's actually crazy! You can do it anywhere! Not just... I digress. Then he says, I feel like there's probably just hella stuff to do. Like, all the time. And she says, yeah, lol. If you're ever bored in the South, just go north. But, like, that's already so rare. There's so much in LA I'm yet to do. If you're ever bored in the South, just go north. Wow. Wow. To everyone who may be watching this video in the South. Firstly, if you've never been to the North, you haven't lived at all, apparently. You haven't seen any mountains or oceans. And believe it or not, you haven't seen both of them at the same time. And if you know any foreigners from maybe Mexico, from down below, they come up to Texas, say hi to you. They're on vacation like, wow, I've never been to Texas. It's really nice down there. Make sure you tell them that it is so much nicer in the North. They haven't even been on vacation yet. They haven't lived once in America. You haven't lived for a second in America if you haven't been to the West Coast to see the mountains and the oceans. And let's not forget the sunsets, because that's where this all started. Let's not forget those either. And then Jake says, exactly. I can't gap, though. I can't stand the cold. For the first time, we have finally said something that's true. It is cold in the North. It is cold. It's cold there. I didn't have to research this. And then Spook says, even if I did everything, there's probably even more to do up north. And then I lost my mind. I had to go to the map immediately. I had to go to the US map immediately. Do I have to point it out to you guys what the problem might be with saying the North has so much more than the South? We're going to draw the line right here, down the middle of the United States. We're going to count the amount of things that are north of America. You got all the states, sure. You got all of them. You got Canada and Alaska. And then that is it. That's it. And I'm like, okay. Let's see what's south. What? There's got to be less than 2 things south then, right? Well, firstly, you got all the beaches south. All the good ones, at least. You got Florida, you got the Bahamas, you got fucking Hawaii is south. You got Mexico, Cuba, Jamaica, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru. You have an entire country below you. Multiple. Vex the Box, by the way, GOAT. Here he is, just getting first place in the server on the Wordle. What can't he do? Vex is just a GOAT. And then my head researcher, love him to death, says, is she smart? Now, I don't know how long this video has been so far, maybe 15, 20 minutes. This right here, so far, has been the smartest message sent. Think about that. It has been 20 minutes since we've seen someone with a brain. And it's not even like an intellectual take. He's just insulting them. But he's right. And then Joe, nail in the coffin. Bro, east sunsets are buns, and he sends that picture I showed earlier. An amazing sunset with not only the ocean right here. Yes, it's an ocean. It connects to the ocean. It's an ocean. You got some mountains back here, too. You got some right over here as well, the skyline. It's all here. Everything that was supposed to be in the West Coast. That slick is buns compared to the shit last night. Okay. I'm not going to argue. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. They really are. They really are. That's the amazing thing about freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want, but while you can say whatever you want, that doesn't mean everything you say is right. And then, like an act of rebellion, close your eyes for a second, imagine all the rebels on Scarif. The X-Wings start flying in. Reinforcements are here. We got someone from Florida. What a beautiful sunset. The ocean's probably somewhere over here. And look at this. You can see the whole sun. No mountains, though, Sorry, Chandler. No mountains, man. You'll get them next time, right? You'll get them next time. West Coast ain't never seen anything like this before. Poop dog or farming. Beautiful picture. Beautiful. There's mountains probably somewhere back here as well, since this is the Maine. An amazing dog. I'm starting to think the West Coast, they might have mountains and oceans at the same time. But they don't got sunsets and dogs at the same time. Do you see how stupid that sounds? And this is when I read it. I did wake up at noon. That's besides the point. Long night, I was playing Fortnite, catching some wins. I wake up and I read all this. I'm like, gonna need to add this to the research file. Because I do. Which I'm doing right now. They deadass said their sunsets are better because time zones, bro. Yeah. Yeah. That's literally what they said. It's because they're on the West Coast. I'll be getting to work on this early. I'm actually getting to work on it right now. We got another sunset picture coming in from Joe. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And you'll never believe where it's been taken, because it's not the West Coast. It's not. It's just not. And then, smartest guy I've ever met in my life. Head of the research department once again. Can't say it enough. They either programmed this one, which I'm assuming, talking about spoof, but it could be used either way for Jake as well, to be ignorant and not possess the knowledge in question, which is true. They could just look it up. Everything that I have looked up so far took like 5 seconds. Or it was given the knowledge and programmed to instigate. Basically saying that these guys are robots, programmed to just instigate. Programmed to, steal your IRL data and just instigate you. Who programs them? We're not sure yet. We're trying to figure that out. Gonklian Research Department, that is our #1 goal. Again, if you have any information on robot theory, please contact 1-800-GONKLIA. We could use any information. We could. Any. The question is why. And he's right. Why? Because if either of these situations were to prove true, they still pose the same question. Why? Why would they program their robots to be ignorant and not possess knowledge, and to also not be able to retain the knowledge that we're trying to tell them? But also, it could have been given the knowledge, and they're just instigating. But why? Why would they gain nothing from it? They already know, the people that program these robots know the truth. The sun sets everywhere on Earth. There's mountains and oceans everywhere on Earth. Why would they program something that doesn't know that and refuses to know it? And, here I am, currently making a research video. I gotta call the scientists back in. I feel bad for them. They're actually hard at work right now, trying to figure this out. All orientation members, newcoming scientists need to watch this video for, the debrief. And then he says, wait, maybe they want us to send images as proof so they can pinpoint our locations. And, I'm starting to think, maybe Chandler's right. Maybe this was all just, a big distraction. It was all just a big shebang for no reason. Just to get our data. And in the end, I think they're right. I think he's right. Still interested in my theory, though. You'll be seeing it soon, Chandler. You'll be seeing it soon. And the last message sent. I don't know why I'm the one receiving this GIF. But I think this perfectly describes this entire video. Probably wondering, what is my theory? As head of the science department, I should have one, and I do. This is my theory as to why the West Coast is the only place on Earth with mountains and oceans existing simultaneously, and sunsets. So, what I've drawn here, as magnificent as it looks, this is the beach of Oregon. And if you don't know where Oregon is, it's on the West Coast. And as we know about the West Coast, they're actually the last place in America that sees the sunset. Because time zones, and the Earth spinning, and us spinning around the sun. It's kind of how it works. They're the last ones to see the sun, so that's why they're a couple hours behind us. I hope that makes sense. Here is the ocean. Look at those waves. Now, here's my thought process. If you don't know, low tide and high tide for the water. When the water gets, pulled backwards, right? And, more of the beach is exposed? Or sometimes it actually gets pulled the other way. Sometimes it gets pulled this way. Can't draw the fucking arrow. Sometimes more ocean is appearing on the sand. You know why that is? It's because of the moon. The moon's gravitational pull, wherever the moon is closest facing to the Earth, it actually pulls the water towards it. And so on the other side of the Earth, the opposite is happening, if that makes sense. And at nighttime, what happens at nighttime? Do you know what comes out? Do you know what comes out at night? Do you know? I really hope you do, because I'm going to draw it for you. Fly on there too. It's the moon. The moon comes out at night. The moon comes out at night. Now you're probably thinking, well, obviously the sun doesn't set everywhere. It's only the West Coast. So I was thinking to myself, if the sun doesn't set anywhere else on Earth, well then that means the moon doesn't rise anywhere else on Earth either, other than the West Coast. So, the moon must be very strong. Very, very strong for the West Coast. Because if you think about it, high tide and low tide, like I said before, occurs across the entire world. But how could Florida have low tide and high tide without the moon? If the sun doesn't set there, they can never see the moon. So how does it happen? The moon just must be that strong. And so you're probably thinking, come on, Kong, where are you getting with all this? Well, since the moon is so strong, and it affects the entire world, but it's going on the West Coast, how much water is it pulling from the West Coast? It's astronomical. So astronomical, in fact, that do you want to know what appears? What appears after all this water's been pulled? I'll draw for you. The most glorious mountains you have ever seen beneath the ocean shore. And that is why the West Coast has it all. And they have the best mountains too. There's not a single place on Earth where the ocean dries all up and you can see all the mountains to be shown. It's not there. They also got the sunset. Can't forget about the sunset. So they get to see all of this at the same time and the residual of the ocean that's been left by the moon. Can't pull it all. It's still there. So while you may think you have it good on the West Coast, they're sitting on their beach right now. This is them. This is them sitting on their beach. Happy as a clam. Because not only do they get to see, let me get the red circle for this, they get to see the ocean, but since the moon, they also only get to see that too. Pulled all the water away, they can see the mountains residing under the ocean as well. And not only that, and of course, you can't forget it, is where we all started. They got the sunset. So if you're ever on vacation to the Bahamas, if you're ever on vacation to Italy, to Greenland, anywhere on Earth, unless you're in the West Coast, imagine this image. They get this every day. Your day is good, but as I like to say, their day is great. You don't get to see this anywhere else on Earth. This concludes my video. This graph will be sent down to the lab shortly. We're going to try to find pictures of this, get some scientific confirmation going. And yeah, if you have any further information on this, any data that you can share with scientific proof, please call 1-800-CONQUIA, and we will send our nearest agent to your home. You will be reimbursed. Thank you for watching. And until next time I open my phone in the morning. Because now my day's ruined. And it can't get better. Because you know where I'm not at. I don't even gotta say. You know where I'm not at. It can't get better.